Welcome to Geeks Plus. My name is Spacehawk, and with me today is Francisco Ruiz. He has the company Firejoy Studios, and today we are going to be talking about his game, Junkyard Juggernauts. So, little backstory. I've been knowing Francisco it's been quite a while now.
Yeah, I want to say at least 4 years, 4 years, something like
that. Let's say 8 years. Let's just round up.
8.
So, 80 years.
Yeah.
But I've been
84 years.
It's been 84 years. I've been knowing Francisco. Wow, I said your name. Let's just butcher that off the top. Francisco. Right. I've been knowing him for quite a while, and he is part of the Retro Rewind podcast, which is a great podcast if you haven't listened to it. They talk about old movies, which I've had the pleasure of being on a few episodes. So, but yeah, we are today talking about, and I get to present this because I have a preview copy here of his game. So I will just let you run with it. Go ahead and talk about it. Talk about yourself, and yeah, I'll let you just go for it. So who are you again? I don't think I said your name correctly.
Ruiz, sometimes known as the captain. My wife likes to pretend that I'm not, but I am. I'm captain. It's of a movie space-time ship for the podcast. I'm captain though. But that's neither here nor there. That had nothing to do with the kid. So, by the way, I'm going to say lots of ums. Buckle up, because I do that. So some stuff about me, and I'll go into the genesis of the game. Does that work?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So, back, well, I'll say my pedigree for board games is grew up with like the sort of commonplace Risk, Monopoly, Stratego, stuff like that, Battleship. Enjoyed those games. In middle school, though, I got this game called Dragon Strike, and some people may know this, may not recognize the name, but they know of this one board game that was like Dungeons and Dragons, but it came with a VHS with a guy that looks like a floating head. He's like the dungeon master, and he's like telling you about this game, Dragon Strike, and that came with the game, and you watched that prior to playing the game. So that I really got into that game. I still have 3 younger brothers, and so I was the dungeon master, and we played that. So that was like my first step into a bigger game than just Monopoly. Fast forward to middle school, played Magic the Gathering quite a bit. Really enjoyed those dynamics of gaming. Fast forward some more, and started playing Gloomhaven with
bless you
friends from my. That wasn't a sneeze. Gloomhaven. Shoo. No, Gloomhaven.
Gloomhaven's. That's a game.
Okay.
That's what all I gotta say about it. It's a game.
It is. Yes, it is a game. Obviously, not one Spacehawk here cares for. But I'm curious. What? Tell me a bit about that. I want to hear.
Dude, it is
Gloomhaven.
The complication. I have never actually played the physical board game, but I've played like the video game version, and that game just absolutely. I played with LJ. You know LJ. Yeah, I played with LJ, and we played Gloom, and it was for free or something on like that Epic store.
Oh, Epic.
Yeah.
I got that version too. Yeah.
So we played it, and I just got decimated, just constantly. We just got destroyed.
Did you play as?
I don't remember. Apparently my character was Take a Lot of Deaths. I don't know if that's his actual name, but Death Taker. Is losing health points a lot. That's the character I played as, that one.
I'm surprised that made it through QA. Most people would not. Play testing that, I don't think people enjoyed, but they apparently went with it.
Maybe so. Anyway.
No, but my small group from church we got into playing Gloomhaven together to serve our monthly. We're still playing through the original campaign. We started in like 2018, and we're currently 2025. So yeah, quite a bit. But I mean, every month you only get through so much. Anyway, played through that. Around that time, I also started getting into trying to make my own Game Boy Advance games through Game Boy Studio. I swear this is all relevant to Junkyard Juggernauts. It's all culminating.
We're gonna get there.
We're gonna get there. I'm giving you the scenic route, okay?
We got to build a story here.
Exactly. So playing games, enjoying games, starting to do some Game Boy game development just for fun. And then I don't know if it was a YouTube video or what have you, but I came across this game, someone showing a playthrough of it. I think it is some guy and his kids or something. They're doing like board game reviews or whatever. And they did this game called Monster Factory.
Mm-hmm.
And I can send you the link, Spacehawk, if you want to throw
Yeah.
whatever. But it's just this game where you have a bunch of tiles. I think they're tiles as opposed to cards, but they're different like monster pieces, whether they're eyeballs or arms or parts. And the whole point of the game is you take your hand of cards or tiles, and you're trying to connect your monster to be like the biggest monster that probably uses the most pieces or something. And they just look sort of wacky. And if you've ever seen Real Monsters on Nickelodeon back in the day, it's reminiscent of that kind of style, I'd say, though a little bit more colorful as opposed to that's more gloomy and drab. But for whatever reason, seeing that sparks in my imagination. Oh, you know what? That would be really cool if you had like a Mech Warrior type game. And I played Mech Warrior 2. Is like my first simulation game that I really got into back in the 90s on my dad's 75 megahertz PC Pentium 2.
Wow.
Can't get better than that. But MechWarrior 2 loved it. But so I saw this board game. I'm like, I wonder if I could make a Game Boy game where you have different pieces that you have to collect and you put them on your mech as you go. And so I started roughing some I do too many things, but I also enjoy making pixel art.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been doing that for like 8 years now, something like that. So I started doing some pixel art, just rudimentary ideas for what this might look like. And I just hit a wall. I'm like, I was doing stuff with the podcast, other life stuff was going on. I'm like, okay, yeah. And I didn't get anywhere with it. I did like one sketch of different pieces of what could have been like little tiles for this Mech Warrior robot thing. And that's it. That is it. It sort of just got tabled. I want to say that was like four or so years ago. And so then now this is why I brought up the whole Gloomhaven stuff with my friends from church. 2 years ago, so 2023, they say, hey, let's go to a cabin up at Mount Hood. I'm up in Oregon. Let's run around and just play board games all weekend. I'm like, oh, yeah, sounds fun. So go do that. And we're playing like when I got there, they were playing Brass Birmingham. I was like, wow, I don't think I ever want to play that because that seems like not at all my style of game, but there are people that like that. And maybe if I gave it a chance, I would like it. But anyway, we played Scythe. We played, let's see. And yes, I say Scythe. I know it's Scythe. Blast me in the comments. So I just like pronouncing it that way.
You heard what he said. Do it.
We played some Gloomhaven. We played, oh geez, I'm totally blanking. And it's a game that I was like, oh, this is so, that's the first time I played Too Many Bones and really enjoyed Too Many Bones. But the game that really clicked something for me was I got up the morning after I arrived and just looked through the games that were out there. And there's this game called Regicide, which is apparently a game that won the Board Gaming Geek solo game competition, or it was a game competition where you had to make a game with just a deck of cards. That was the challenge. And it won that. And for some reason, playing that game and how it was able to take the cards and turn them like into other things that made sense based on what the card was and also made its own thing just really inspired me for what became Junkyard Juggernauts. So you'd have Monster Factory, you have MechWarrior 2, you have pixel art, and you have Regicide. So those are the four in terms of game design and sort of preliminary ideas. That is the melting pot for Junkyard Juggernauts. Now more stuff came later because it was originally meant to be like a 30-minute draft cards, make a mech, battle. It wasn't going to be this adventure that it became. But over the course of playtesting it, someone commented after the playtesters. I think this was, if I'm getting this wrong, I think it's Valendro. If you ever watched this, I think you're the one who said this. But he had said, I feel like this could be so much more than it is. Like, that really sort of struck me. And I thought about it, I prayed about it, and I tried to develop it more into a world, and took a lot of inspiration from Chronicles of Narnia. Something about, especially Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I really like the idea of these 4 sibling characters. They have two boys, 2 girls that are working. They're part of a family that are working to free the kingdom, and I really enjoyed the element of Edmund is tempted away. And spoilers for A Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Edmund is tempted by the White Witch. For those that don't know, and the other siblings are trying to free him, but the only way to do that is through Aslan, the lion, and eventually Aslan, sacrifices himself so that Edwin can be freed. And so I love that whole analogy to Christ and him dying for us. I'm a Christian. If you didn't get that by now, okay, well, the cat's out of the bag. I wanted to figure out how to apply this sort of a trader mechanic, and also the ability to redeem the trader into the game. So that is a big thrust of trying to get that right. And I feel like I finally got to a point where, through lots of playtesting, where that's not something you can do every game, but I have played a session where that happens, and it's such a beautiful thing. And I have different endings for the game. I think Spacehawk, in your overview video, I just thank you again for doing it, for making that. You mentioned how there's multiple endings, and so there's like the best ending you can get. You can only get if you're playing multiplayer, and you're able to essentially redeem the acolyte, which is the player that gets tempted by the warlord and has to fight against the other players. So I love the idea of that, and seeing that actually happen in real life was really, really special. So hopefully other people that play the game can feel that same sense of joy at this redemption arc of some sort. But I haven't really gotten to what the game is at all. There's a bunch of backstory for you. Junkyard Juggernauts, I may cut this to put it at the beginning. So the start of the conversation of Junkyard Juggernauts, let me give you an overview, because that's what a good game designer does. What overview of the game? Before backstory, who would give all the backstory first? Not me, Francisco Ruiz.
It's not like your game has a ton of backstory and lore.
No. It's so simple. I mean, tic-tac-toe has way more lore than it. No.
Do you know the movie's coming out? Tic-tac-toe?
Really?
Directed by Michael Bay. No, I'm just joking. But I wouldn't be surprised. I just wouldn't be surprised. Michael's Bay. Yeah. It's just separate. Every time an X gets thrown down, The Rock, Pedro Pascal is the O's. And it's just explosions.
Yeah, exactly.
And now I want this movie to happen.
So, overview, Junkyard Juggernauts, it's a 1 to 4 player fantasy adventure game with, so most people think fantasy, they think elves, monsters, Dungeons and Dragons. But in this game, I took some thematic inspiration from Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy 6 in terms of having mechs. So eventually the game was going to be sci-fi. I'll get to that in the backstory, which I have not said already, because Spacehawk is certainly putting this in the right spot.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
we're not already almost 20 minutes into this interview. If you guys must also know,
you're long-winded.
Just a backstory. I'm also very much ADHD, and I feel like every time I talk to Francisco, it fuels my ADHD fire. Every time. Every time, even with this just messaging, it's just my ADHD fire just fuels. So that's what happens when you interview someone you know.
So 1 to 4 player fantasy adventure game, but it has mechs, which you typically don't see outside of Final Fantasy games. Chrono Trigger has mechs in it too. A recent favorite of mine, Sea of Stars, also has has robots. Anyway, regardless, I really enjoyed. I really wanted to have mechs in this fantasy world. I thought that's such a cool overlap. What you see, it's not unheard of, but I just love that sort thematic thing. You often see that in steampunk, but not fantasy really.
Yeah.
So I wanted to have that in this game. Because first off, I try to make a game with robots where you had different pieces from this Game Boy game that I will share about in a bit or shared about already, depending on where this is cut. Um, but so it has mechs and it has also tactical combat. For a long time, I was just calling it a strategy game, but the more I thought about it, the more it's not really strategy. There is some strategy. There is some strategy to knowing when you're going to augment your juggernaut that is giving it more more hit points, so to speak. I call it metal in the game.
So can I ask you this? When does the whole elemental aspect that you have on it, because there are elements, based off your 4 playable characters or represented the different elements.
Yes.
How did that come to your mind? Like, oh, this would be a cool thing to have like elemental juggernauts. Like,
Yeah. So so that comes back to so the game Regicide, that was one of the linchpins for like setting me off on creating this game from the other foundational pieces I had. Um, it had essentially each suit of the deck of cards had a different sort of like class, as I've played it the one time, but I forget the minutia of it. But there's something like each suit is its own unique class or something. And I thought, okay, how can I translate that? Because I don't want to just, take it from this. So I was like, okay, well, there's commonly 4 elements because there's commonly 4 elements in magic systems or elemental systems. So I'll just go with the standard fare. Now, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here. I have enough of that already going in this game, but that's primarily where that came from. Is just wanting to have elements for. I think originally I was going to try something where you had a paper, rock, scissors of each element would interact with another. That with 3 that works beautifully. With 4, it was getting too complicated. I'm sure there's a very elegant way to do it, but I was not the one to come up with a system for that. So I scrapped that in lieu of, essentially, instead of elements fighting each other, whenever you matched your own element, it allows for more optimization in your mech or more options in the spells you can play. So that's why I went with the elements, and it's not really in the rule book. This is more for more lore or expansions down the way, but each element actually has its own sort of spiritual creature that goes with it. And because the lore of the game is there's a overall creator that creates 4 beings, 4 creatures. There's the fire owls, the bolt rams, the earth rays and manta rays. That's kind of how they look, but earth rays, and the sea foxes. So he creates these 4 creatures, and then they go on to sort of bring about the different lands of Galmany that sort of are tuned with their sort of elements. So that's how you get the forests in the north, the sea and the coast, the plains in the south, the southeast, and the desert in the southwest. So that's where those elements come from. Why they're there is those 4 elemental spirits.
nice. That's awesome. Now one thing that I want to point out, and I know we kind of touched on this a little bit, but the game itself has a ton of lore, a ton of story, and I think one of the coolest aspects of it is the fact that you could put your mech pieces together and form it's like a name. I always thought that was like one of the coolest features, where it's like ice tornado shark destroyer or something. I don't know. I just thought that's such a fun element that I'm glad that you kept through. I demoed it a few times, and I demoed it pretty early, and I just thought that was one of the coolest aspects, where it was like that you kept.
And I was going to say to that, that's not something that's official, unfortunately, because I ran out of space in the rule book to have everything I could have wanted, and that's one of the things that I just cut because it's purely flavor. It doesn't do anything else. You get a little bit of it because when you form a beast, it takes the names from those to give you a unique beast name. But yeah, if for anyone that plays this in the future, if you're watching this, if you look at your 2 arms and 2 legs and read the words that are oriented correctly, so it's going to be something like leaf grade for the arms, and then there's going to be 2 names that sort of form a quotation, like phantom shark, or I don't think phantom's actually one of them, but spirit shark or volcanic apocalypse. I forget exactly all the names, but that's what you're speaking to, Spacehawk as the. And yeah, I enjoyed that too because it gives you like, this is my unique mech. There's about like 50,000 combinations, so it's of course eventually there's gonna be one that's the same, but it's gonna be very unique each time.
So I know this is probably, you may not have thought of this, so I don't want to catch you off guard with this question, but have you thought, because the world itself is really unique and it's really fun. The world of Galmany is super cool. Have you thought about doing another game set within this universe, but like a whole separate game, separate mechanics, but still set within this world? Has that something that has crossed your mind?
I have like an expansion idea that takes place, and if you look at the map, in the upper left, coming sort of there's this trail going off from Ray's hutch, which is the Earth City that you have to free from the junk golems. I feel like there's so much story I haven't gotten into. Even I spent too much talking about how the game came about. I haven't talked about the actual story or why you even want to play it. But um, going off from there, there's a label that says to Frostbelly Swamp. So there's going to be a whole expansion in this place I've called Frostbelly Swamp. But in terms of other games set in it, yes, I want to do some sort of maybe a worker placement or some sort of polyomino. I'm not exactly sure, but I want to do something in Ashley's Haberdashery where it's like more of a mercantile game where it's like some sort of commerce or maybe bidding or something like that, because that's like the trading hub of the kingdom outside of the main cities. One more expansion idea I have is something called Dauburn's Dungeon, or something. It's gonna be Junkyard Juggernauts, Dauburn's Dungeon. It's gonna be a solo version, where essentially the story of Junkyard Juggernauts is there's this piece in this land of Galmany. And one night, the king and queen of the land disappear, and they're your parents. You're the 4 heirs of the kingdom. Your parents, the king and queen, disappear. You don't know what happened. And the next morning, you wake up, and all these reports are coming in of the 4 main cities of Galmany being enslaved by these robots that no one knows where they came from. But people are calling them junk golems because they're made of these junk pieces, but they're just terrorizing and enslaving the populace. And then you're hearing whispers that maybe this warlord is attacked from the west, and then fires erupt in the capital cities of Seneschal, where you live. And so your tutor Dauburn, who's been training you in this art of mageneering, which is merging your magics. So each character has their own affinity. Your magics with a machine, which allows you to eventually create a juggernaut. He says, we need to get out of here. We need to go to the south where the junkyard is for the kingdom and try to use some of that scrap to rebuild, to make your own juggernauts. And maybe you can go and free the populace. But the solar player game is going to be you, Dauburn, trying to escort the heirs. So you're playing as this tutor instead of the heirs, but you're escorting them out through the dungeons underneath the capital to get out to the countryside, so that you're not spotted by whoever is doing these flames. And you're going to be fighting little beasts in the sewers and different things like that. And Dauburn, as you go, you're going to be making your own a golem guard, which is a robot he's trying to throw together from the pieces he's getting as they're going. So it's going to be something like that has very similar combat mechanics, but it's going to be more push your luck, and like the more cards you overturn, the more likely you are to fight something powerful. So you got to be careful as you go through this dungeon. So
awesome.
Yeah. So that's where the story comes from, of them going south, creating their juggernauts from these pieces in the junkyard. And then you go forth, adventure, going on quests, trying to free the cities, and searching for the warlord's lair. All the while, you find out one of you has become tempted by the warlord and will eventually fight the others in the final battle. I think I answered your question, but maybe.
Yeah, no, you did. You totally did. You totally did. I think, I guess. No, stick it. Maybe. No, it's, but no, it,
Try again, Francisco.
I don't know. No, but this game is cool, and it does. One thing I will say, and I did say this in my review, there is a lot of mechanics. So this is a little bit of a heavier game to learn.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to really nail down all the mechanics? Because there are a lot of mechanics within it. So
Yeah. And so here's some advice I would give to, well, to answer your question first, it's taken about the length of time to make the game. So I'd say a year and a half to really get mechanics all nailed down. Something I will share as a piece of advice I wish I'd heard earlier in my design of the game, but is I passed the Rubicon for this to be wholly effective. But I forget which game designer said this, but he said something to the effect of, don't patch, go back. Essentially to say, if something's not working, don't try to patch over it and patch over and patch over it. Go back, sort of simplify, see what you can get rid of before you just like add more things to fix a problem. And I wish I had done a bit more of that. I think throughout the whole process, the game has become what it needed to be. I really do believe that. Yes, there are a lot of complex. Well, I would say not every system in the game in and of itself, I would say, is not complex, but having to retain them all in your mind can be a bit of a not a mental block, but a mental load.
yeah, I want to say kudos to you too, because and I'm gonna open this box here and show, hopefully have a live example. You do a great job, which you have a nice thick book, and there's a reason why there's a thick book. Yeah, there's a nice thick book, but you go through, and without like making my camera blurry, you very detailing, I guess that's gonna be a word. You very much
detailed.
very detailed. Thank you. You go through the combat steps,
Mhm.
and that's something that I really appreciate. So if you are nervous about, I don't know if I look, he lays out how to play it pretty well.
Yeah.
Very very easy. Very like combat wrap up, combat steps. So we know how to play the game right, without having
Wait,
to. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. The way I designed the rule book is so that you can essentially be setting up the game, starting the game as you're going through the rule book. So you don't feel, hopefully you don't feel that you have to read the whole rule book, then play. You can go piece by piece. Like, okay,
Yeah.
here's the setup. All right. So now how do I draft the cards? Okay, this is how I do it. How do I make my juggernaut? Okay. Now the adventure part where it is a bit more open-ended, and that may take a bit more to wrap your hand around, but yeah, thank you for that though.
Yeah. I just want to point that out just in case people are like hesitant. They're like, I'm not really good at playing complex games, or no one like,
Yeah.
but you do go through it really well, and you explain, this is what this is, this is what this is how to do this, and you really, I don't want to say hand holdy, but truly you hold hand as you go through the rule book, and that is something that's, because I've played games, man, where like, for example, and I don't want to call out specific games, but there's been some games where I've watched videos, and not looking at you, Spirit Island, where I've watched videos, and I'm sitting here, like, it literally took me like days to learn how to play the game, and then my wife was like, let me just sit down and watch a couple videos, and she got it almost instantly. Um, so, like, I do like how you went into detail with that, and made it a little bit easier to comprehend. I think it's fun. I love the uh the 8-bit kind of art to it, where it feels like a video game, but it's also a board game, but you also have endings like a video game, but it's also still a board game. I love that like mesh of it, because it shows that, and you're like a retro gamer, so it's like you could see your love for that mixed in with tabletop, and I think that's just like the coolest thing.
Yeah.
I think it's
I am
super cool.
a huge thank you. I'm a huge fan of especially Super Nintendo games. Genesis I'm playing through. I have a Genesis Mini. So I'm playing through those games and certainly developing a fondness, except for Echo the Dolphin. And so yeah, so I have a very much a fondness for retro things. I love doing pixel art, and since it's the art style, I didn't have to. I was very blessed to have enough pixel art experience to be able to do myself, as opposed to having to hire an artist, except for some of the rule book illustrations and which I doubled use for the character portraits on the back of the player boards. Were done by my friend Paul J. Powers at pauljpowers.com. I want to give him a shout out. He's done a fantastic job with that and does things like, wow, I don't know. It's funny, him and I'll say, I don't know how you put this type of detail into a pixel art. And I'm like, I don't know how you put this type of detail into an illustration.
I'm like, and I could just draw stick figures. I don't know about none of that fancy art stuff. But yeah, that's where I sit. That's where I sit. That's the hill I die on. But yeah, man.
And
go ahead.
I will say, I mean, and I know you've done some game design work, and I think you can attest that it's more about the mechanics and getting it playable to the fun is not all just the art, because if you just care about art, go to a museum. Yeah, there's plenty of art to look at. You want something that's actually more interactive and playable. So that plays a bigger piece. The art is nice. It's like the cherry on top, but it's not the cake.
It catches the eye, but you still have to have the mechanics to actually do it and like it, and it'd be fun. And so what would you say in this game, just playing through it and looking at it and stuff like that, it has quite a bit of replayability. It's not that, it's definitely not one of those, okay, if I play it through once, I could kind of like weasel my way into beating it, like cheese it, based off me just like getting it. I feel like you kind of get, depending on like, I don't want to say the luck of the draw when drawing your mech parts, but kind of, and then it depends on who grabs who could betray, and, they might be redeemed. And so you have a lot of opportunity within the game to actually like change things up. Every game could be a little bit different, which is cool. And which takes me back to the beginning where we were talking about how you have multiple endings for the game. You could try to, and all this to say, you have a mechanic in here that I do talk about in my review. You have a new game plus mode, which I was like, I've never seen this for a board game before. And this, I'm sure it exists out there, but this is my first experience with it. And tell us a little bit about that. I think it's really unique.
Yeah. So speaking to what you said about replayability, I had this fear. Like as I was developing this game, I'm like, this is a hefty game. This is more in depth than I originally set out to do. But I feel like this is where it needs to be. This is where the game needs to be for it to be the game that I was feeling. Honestly, I feel like, just to say real quick, in a lot of ways, I feel like this is God's game and I'm stewarding it. And so for it to be the game that I believe God wanted it to be, it needed to be where it got to with this milieu of mechanics. That actually should copyright that. That sounds pretty good. The milieu of mechanics.
I like it. First here on the show. So,
but because of that, I was like, I had this fear that it was going to be, I played it once and now I'm done. And so I spent who knows how long learning this game. And now, well, all right, I guess that's the one time play. Cause I have a game. It's not nearly as complex, but I played it once. I'm like, and I tried playing it again. I'm like, this is just the same. This isn't really, there's nothing really unique here. So in light of that, on top of having multiple endings based on the different win conditions or lose conditions.
Yeah.
I wanted something so that you could, especially for increasing difficulty, because I was finding if you know the game fairly well, you can make it can be kind of, I wouldn't say easy, but depending on which cards you draft, like you were saying, you could steamroll through the first few mechs. So I decided to add this New Game Plus features, which would allow for different dynamics. So essentially, the main ones, the main one that I find most fun playing with, that I would suggest people that have played this a few times and want some more challenging, is so the power cards, which are the main cards you use for arms and legs, they range in their power from 1 through 5. That's their base power, and their upgrade power is from 2 to 10. So take the cards that are 5/10 cards. You take those out of the initial junk pile where you're taking your cards from, and you put them under the junk golems, which are like the mini bosses.
Uh-huh.
And then when you have to build the junk golems, you normally just draw 3 random cards from the top of the deck. But now each one has a 10 underneath it, and they're random. So you don't know if they'll get the 10 that matches their own element. And in that case, they'll have a full 10 power level for whatever limit ends up being. Or if it ends up, or it could just be the 5, but it's still a powerful limb that they'll get. And since as you play the game, these mini bosses, these junk golems scale in power already, you could have a potentially very challenging mini boss. But I also like that because then you're not going to get all 10s. Just because some of the cards in the junkyard, you can see what they are and you can take those. Others are face down, you can't see them, so you're sort of hoping you're getting something good. But if you just like randomly have all the 5/10 showing, you could take if you're playing solo or playing with other people, you could take all those and then the game would be a lot easier. So this would help so that it's a little more of a challenge because you're not going to get all those powerful cards, but you could earn the powerful cards by going and finding the jungle. So that's one of the New Game Plus ways I really like. I call them New Game Plus because you mix in these elements, like however you want to spice up your game or change it, you can put those in to try a different way.
Awesome. I love that. I think it's really cool. And like I said, I think the whole thing is awesome. It is definitely not, in my opinion, and I'm going to pronunciate this so no one can misconstrue my words. This is definitely not a shelf sitter. But yeah, definitely check out this game. It is, as of this video, it is launching in a few days. I will put the link down below in the description. If you are interested in it, please give my good friend here, go check it out. Go give them a follow. Check out the game. Definitely, if you can give to the Kickstarter, please do it. It's a really cool game. It has a cool concept. The story is amazing. You got junkyard mechs. What else could you want? What more do you want? You're fighting mechs.
Exactly. And you're making your own mech. It's
Do it.
Beautiful.
That's all I'm gonna say. Just do it.
And we're gonna, just for funsies here, we're gonna just pick 4 random cards, and this is gonna be Spacehawk's mech.
All right, let's do it.
So let me take the quest out here. Okay, here's some.
That's gonna be Spacehawk Geeks Plus. No.
Okay, you tell me when to stop.
All right, stop.
All right, so we got 1 card. All right, that'll be leg 1.
All right.
Okay, tell me when to stop. I'll start again. Tell me when to stop.
That one. Number 3. Number 3. Yeah.
Oh, number 3. Okay.
Yeah, number 3.
That'll be this one. All right. That'll be second leg. Oh wow, you got a powerhouse going already. Okay. So going again here.
Let's go to the back. Let's go to the back a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Let's go to the back. Oh, that one.
This one?
Yep, that one.
Man, you better watch out for that. That's the first arm. Okay. So now go from the back again.
Let's go middle. Just straight middle.
Okay.
Just straight middle. Whatever the middle card is, that's the one we're picking.
That one. Have you ever seen the movie Lady in the Water, Spacehawk?
I'm familiar with it. I've never seen it.
It's an M. Night Shyamalan movie. The thing most people remember is there's this one character that he works out one arm. So he has this massive muscle arm. He's like Trogdor, I guess. He has one massive arm and this other arm's kind of wimpy. So here's the mech you just got. You got 2 very strong legs. So you got an 8 and a 9 level leg. Well, 4 and 4, but they can upgrade to 8 and 9.
That's all the lifts I've been, leg lifts.
You got a massive 5/10 arm, and then a little 1/2 arm. Oh, that would be zone.
So what is my mech called? We got to get the mech name.
Put this mech together, you would be a Gale grade jungle Medusa.
That's right. Jungle Medusa.
Because you could switch the legs and the arms, but depending on how you want to do it. You would be... Oh, actually, no. That's an invalid build. I'm sorry. You would not be that because you have to build this the right way. So you would actually be a... we'll do it this way. A Sierra grade Death Earthquake.
I mean, that sounds about right.
You can't go wrong, Death Earthquake.
You can't go wrong. It's not a life earthquake we're talking about here. I don't know what's that accent. It's a death earthquake.
I like it, whatever it is.
Oh, well, guys, that is going to be it for us today. Stay safe, stay nerdy, be blessed, and we are going to catch you next time for more.